name is Ben Varick. I'm the Outpost Director here at camp. Let's get started. So this webinar, thank you all for joining, first of all. I appreciate you taking the time. This webinar will be a short 10-minute presentation followed by an opportunity to ask questions. Both ask me questions and ask each other questions. There's a wealth of knowledge here. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hang on, I'm having some technical difficulties. There we go. Okay, so this webinar is going to be two parts. First of all, the first part is what you can expect when you get to camp and of your trip. And the second part is how you can prepare in the next month or two. And then at the end, like I said, we'll have questions. So that first day, when you arrive at camp, you'll arrive in the afternoon, and you'll meet your group and do the swim challenge, have dinner at Nash that night, and get settled into your cabin. Get checked into camp and settled in. Those next couple days are spent getting ready for your trip. The most important part of that is meeting your group and starting to work together as a group. This will happen both facilitated. We'll have a day of low and high ropes course, as well as while you're getting ready for your trip in all the other ways. You'll be working with your group and practicing how you're going to work together. So you'll be packing out all of your food and all of your gear, going for a practice hike, getting ready. Then you'll leave for Alaska. You'll drive from camp to Minneapolis, and from there you'll fly to Fairbanks, where you'll spend the night, and the next day drive to your drop-off point. Coming back 45 days later, and we'll get to that part in a second, you'll drive or fly back to Fairbanks, depending on the end of your trip. From there you'll fly back to Minneapolis and drive back to camp. When you get back to camp at the end of your trip, you'll spend a day unpacking all of your gear, cleaning all of your equipment, debriefing your trip. It's a pretty important part of your transition from your trip back home. And then we'll have our welcome hike-in ceremony. And that will happen the last afternoon and evening that you're at camp. All of the Alaskans will hike in from South Bay, and all of the Expo Canucks and Expo Pacifics will paddle in from the islands, and everyone will converge on the waterfront steps. There, any family members or guests will meet you. It's time to share stories, reconnect. There'll be dinner in Nash that evening, and then a slideshow after dinner. It's a pretty incredible slideshow with all the expeditionary trips, hearing all the stories and all the adventures that everyone went on. Please RSVP any.
Ben, I think you got muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Was I muted for all of that?
No, just the last few seconds.
Just the last bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. So that hike-in welcome home ceremony is that last day that you're at camp. It's a pretty incredible experience with all the other expeditionary trips. So the part I skipped over, the 45 days in the middle, what is your trip going to be like? So you're going to be hiking in the Gates of the Arctic National Park and the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. It's a pretty wonderful ecosystem. It's in the high alpine and Arctic tundra. I really like this picture because if you look in the foreground, you can see all of these grizzly bear prints in the mud, which I think is pretty cool. The ecosystem that you're going to be traveling in is one of the most remote in the continent, and it's a pretty cool opportunity to see a pristine ecosystem like that. There's open tundra, broken down mountains, scree fields, long, big rivers, grizzly bears, black bears, moose, wolf. It's a wonderful wild place, and it's really remote. And part of that remoteness is that risk management becomes really important. So while you're out on your trip, risk management should be at the forefront of your mind, and the key to risk management is prevention. It's a lot easier to stop an incident from happening than to deal with it after the fact. And that risk management is something that everybody in the group is responsible for. Some of the specific risks on your trip, as I said, are the remoteness. It's really hard to get help to you while you're out there. River crossings, bears, weather, mountain travel, and all of the other hazards that come with big adventures in big mountains. So on your trip, and in your group, will be your trip leaders. You all should have received introductory letters from your trip leaders introducing them. And your trip leaders are going to be there with you throughout your trip, both to help guide the trip in some aspect and to help facilitate all of the growth that happens on these trips. So your trip leaders were hired for their experience. They all have extensive experience not only in backcountry travel, but also in social and emotional learning, in growth, in leadership facilitation. And they're there to help your group out. All of your trip leaders are WFR trained, Wilderness First Responder trained. Wilderness First Responder is a 9-day course put on by the Wilderness Medical Associates that covers how to administer first aid in the wilderness, as well as lifeguarding and wilderness water safety training. In addition to that, we do an 11-day, a really extensive 11-day training here at camp that focuses on small group facilitation, risk management, technical, emotional, and social skills, collaborative leadership, and it culminates in a training trip to continue those conversations, continue working on those skills. You're also going to be out there with your group, and these groups are small. They are 6 to 7 people, including your trip leaders.
I understand.
And being in a small group for that long is a really cool opportunity.
This is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's a really cool opportunity, and it's also really difficult. It can be really challenging to be in that small group setting for that long. It's really important that you come into this experience with open minds about your group mates. You might know some of the people in your group, but coming with open minds and no expectations about your group mates. Let them be whoever they would like to be. And then you come willing to invest and work really hard to make that trip group work well. Your trip group can be one of the most important, profound, and impactful parts of your trip. You need to put in the work to make it that profound. The next part of the presentation is what you can do to prepare in the next month or two before your trip. And the first part of that I want to talk about is gear, is your personal equipment. You all should have received a gear list from us. If not, it's available on the website of recommended equipment to bring. And there's a couple things that I wanted to highlight in there. The first of which are your shoes, your footwear. I like to think of your shoes in a couple different categories. First of all, you have your hiking boots, which should be have really good ankle support. The ground in Alaska is quite uneven, and you're going to be carrying really heavy packs. You want to make sure you can take care of your ankles. So really good ankle support. They need to be durable, burly, so they can handle really arduous hiking for 45 days. And waterproof is recommended. When you get to camp, for your camp shoes, those should be comfortable, and they should also provide enough ankle support that in a pinch, you could hike with them. That if something happened to your hiking boots, you'd be able to use your camp shoes to hike. And some people like to bring a third pair of shoes so that their feet can air out. Hiking all day in sweaty, big boots is a recipe for foot fungus, and we try and avoid that. So bringing shoes like Crocs to let your feet air out in at night can be a good idea. The next piece of gear I want to talk about is layering. Where you're going, you're above the Arctic Circle. It's going to be cold, and you need to bring proper insulation for that. Both fleeces, and sometimes people like to bring, puffy jackets, down jackets, or synthetic puffy jackets. It's important to bring a rain jacket that can go over both of those. That's both waterproof and is breathable, so you can hike in it. Dry bags are also really important. You'll have pack covers for your backpacks that should keep your packs relatively dry, but some things you want to keep more dry. Digital cameras or sleeping bags. I find it's nice to bring small dry bags for things like digital cameras that you want to keep dry, and then they make these snazzy dry bag stuff sacks that are really nice for sleeping bags. The last thing I want to talk about is what else you can do to prepare for your trip before the summer starts. Can I see me? No. Oh, sorry. The first thing you can do is you can physically prepare. You can exercise. You can break in your boots. And the second thing is to mentally prepare. To get the most out of this trip, it's important to come to this summer with some clarity in your thoughts. And I'll give you 2 prompts for that. First of all, what will you add to your trip group? And secondly, how do you hope to grow from this experience? So that's the end of my prepared presentation. I'm sure you all have questions, and I'd love to hear them all. So you can unmute yourself and ask questions. You can type in the chat box if you'd like. What questions do people have?
There you go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of pants should I get to hike in? Because I usually hike in shorts.
That's a good question. And in Alaska, I'd say pants are probably preferable to shorts. There's going to be a lot of brush that you're hiking through. So something that's comfortable to hike in, that you have a good range of motion, that's kind of stretchy, is nice. Non-cotton, the synthetic fabric is good. The lightweight nylon pants is generally pretty good hiking pants.
Thank you.
Make sure you're comfortable hiking in it for 45 days.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Is it on? The Cools, K-U-H-L, those are the really good ones.
Oh, that brand of pant?
Yeah.
Pant?
Okay. Cools?
K-U-H-L. Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to write that down.
Okay.
And they're good for hiking.
Awesome.
Ben, I got a question. Not as much. I'll ask you, are you related to Dan?
I am. Dan Varick is my younger brother.
Okay. All right. That's what I just wanted to be sure. I love Dan.
Me too.
Hey Ben, you mentioned the importance of good rain gear on the trip.
What was that, Haley?
Oh, I said I just want everyone to make sure they have good rain gear because sometimes the weather conditions. Oh, this is Haley by the way, but my name's whatever. But make sure that you have good rain gear. That it's not going to be like you're not going to be soaked through because we're going to be out in out in the elements. So just make sure check out your rain gear before you come to camp. Make sure it's okay.
That's a great point. Rain gear is really important.
So does that mean that rain pants are important as well?
Yes, definitely very important.
Okay, and we heard the mosquitoes that you can saddle them up and ride them out.
Yeah, the bugs up there are magnificent, I've heard people say. A sight to be seen. We'll pack each group out with a Thunder tarp, which is a tarp that has screen netting on the side for cooking water. But for hiking and setting up camp, a bug shirt is really important. Something that can cover your face, has cinches around your wrists.
Or a bug net. So I'm just saying, like a bug shirt is like netting for your home.
And in terms of trekking poles and gaiters, I don't know if people have already got them. Gaiters are pretty essential. I haven't been to Alaska, but a lot of my friends say that gaiters are pretty good for the brush. It'll really help your shins. So if you don't have gaiters, I would definitely try to purchase them. In terms of trekking poles, I was talking to my co-leader, Lisa, and we think collapsible trekking poles are some of the better options rather than if they're just one stick. The problem with that is in different types of terrain, they can break really easily. So I would definitely contact your leaders about if you're unsure about trekking poles. Those can make or break like your knees or help. They just help out a lot with packs. So make sure you do have trekking poles and gaiters is my advice. So, Brittany and listen.
Yeah, especially on the tussocks, on the really uneven kind of ground that's up in the tundra. Trekking poles will really help your ankles, help you hike. Any other questions?
Yeah, what about something small? Do you guys bring Frisbee and cards, or do the kids bring them?
We don't provide Frisbees or cards. Feel free to bring both.
Okay.
Frisbees, you might struggle to find a good spot to play Frisbee, just because the ground's so uneven. But cards are great. I've seen people draw a Scrabble board on their thermarest and then bring Scrabble pieces to play. I've seen similar things with chess pieces and backgammon and that kind of stuff. Yeah, all of that is great.
Bring your Frisbee. You never know. You might use it. Maybe.
So I'm wondering how you live amongst the bears safely.
That's a great question. So everybody will be carrying pepper spray, which is a really effective bear deterrent in case you encounter a bear. But as with anything with risk management, the important part is preventing that. So when you're in bear country, which is the whole time you're in the Brooks Range, it's really important to keep a really clean campsite to try and reduce the food spilled everywhere and smells and that kind of a thing. We'll pack out all of the groups with bear canisters, bear-proof containers to hold your food in, and not only your food, but anything else that smells. So toothpaste, or if you spilled sauce on your shirt, anything that has a food odor to it, we'll put in the bear canisters and store that away from where your camp is, so that if a bear does come to it, one, they can't access the food because it's in these bear-proof containers, and two, they're not near where you are. Okay. Additionally, all the groups will, while you're hiking, you'll stick together when you're in bear country more than you otherwise would. Bears avoid large groups. There haven't been any recorded bear attacks on groups of 4 or larger. So we try and keep groups close together so that they are a big, intimidating group, and the bears will run away, will avoid the group. And whenever you're going through areas where visibility is low, so river bottoms where there's a lot of willow scrub and things like that, I like to sing, make noise, just let the bears know that you're coming, and they'll avoid you. The situation you want to avoid is a surprise bear.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And all of the leaders are trained in this, and we'll go over that again during staff training, and then we'll go over bear safety during those couple days before your trip with the whole group.
And in terms of toiletries, ladies and gentlemen, I know like really nice smelling, like vanilla lotion smells really good, but just for trail, I would advise to get some stuff that doesn't smell that much. Like it might smell like in the front country, but just try to get stuff that isn't like super cherry chapstick. Like just get the regular kind of chapstick, or just like regular lotion rather than like the super scented lotion. Just for just like bear safety too. That's cool for everyone.
Yeah, totally. That's a great suggestion, Haley. The more unscented stuff you can bring, the better.
What kind of bug spray should we bring?
That's really up to you. I found that physical bug deterrent is way more effective than bug spray. So especially up there. So I'd recommend a bug shirt over bug spray, both because a bug shirt is a lot more effective, and bug spray, really strong bug spray, can dissolve rain gear. So if you do bring bug spray, bring a bandana as well, and instead of spraying it on yourself and then getting some on the rest of your equipment, spray it into the bandana and use that to wipe your skin.
What about spray to treat clothing before going on the trip?
Oh yeah, what's that stuff called? It starts with an E.
Permethrin.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've heard that's fairly effective. There's no harm. I don't think that odor would attract wildlife, and it might help with the bugs.
How do we get our resupplies?
Resupplies, that's a great question. So it depends on your trip and your route. So some resupplies are getting mailed to Anaktuvuk Pass, and then you'll stop by the post office there and pick them up. And some resupplies are getting flown in to a lake that you'll be passing by.
What noise?
Oh, I got a question. How many liter packs are we going to send out with?
How big of packs, was that the question?
Yeah.
What liter size?
So we'll have 85 liter, 90 liter, and 100 liter packs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so real big packs. We do provide all of the backpacks. If you'd like to bring your own, you can, but it should be at least 90 liters.
90 plus 10, like we're getting a brain.
Yeah, those 90 plus 10 packs, exactly. Yeah, those are the packs that we have.
What's questions do you have?
I suggest everyone to bring a journal. A lot of trips, this is a good for reflection and learning more about yourself and how you're going to grow. And I think even if you're not a writer, I don't really journal at all, but on trail it's nice to have something that I can keep track of my thoughts if a thought comes to my mind. So keeping like a little, don't put your just bring it in camp, you never know, you might take it. So that's a recommendation for most leaders. Also want to have some reflection and solo time on their trip. I know most people are going to have that, and there's also solo days, and so it's definitely a strong time for reflection. So bring a journal that you might like, or something that's not going to fall apart, like day one or something. I would say.
Ask them what the weather's like. Yeah. What's the weather like throughout the trip? Is June?
What's the weather like? Is that the question?
Is it like a rainy time and then a non-rainy time, or?
That's a good question. So I've never been to the Brooks Range myself. What I've heard from people that have been there is that it will rain a significant amount of the time. There are sunny days. There are thunderstorms. There are the whole gamut.
What?
What's gonna be our protocol for the storm since we're kind of on the
I couldn't quite hear you. What was that question?
What's gonna be our thunderstorm protocol since we're on the open so much?
The phone protocol?
Thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm protocol. So in the case of a thunderstorm, you want to get down from an exposed area. So if you're on a ridge or in a big open area, you want to get down lower in elevation and try and get out of where it's dangerous. That's the number one thing. If you're near a body of water, if you're doing a river crossing or something, you definitely want to get out of the river. Once you find a safer spot that's sheltered, that hopefully there are some trees or at least things that are taller than you, then if the thunderstorm is particularly bad, you can spread the group out. You can number of things to reduce the risk further, but the most important thing is just getting out of an exposed area. So getting down off the ridge, getting out on the river. Yeah.
That's nice. Do you know how cold it can get at night there?
That's a good question, and Haley, you might know this better than I do. I'd say probably at night down to, below 50.
You have, definitely make sure you have a sleeping pad that's not soft, because sleeping pads are great for being soft, but also it keeps insulation from the ground, so you're not physically touching the ground. But in terms of sleeping bags, I have I don't have like a negative Fahrenheit. I think it's, no, actually, I think it's like 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and that will be fine in Alaska.
Yeah.
Just make sure you have a sleeping pad, for sure.
I'm sorry, the connection, the sound quality is not good. So how cold did you say it gets? And then did you say you have a 40-degree sleeping bag?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
And I'd recommend a slightly warmer sleeping bag than that, maybe a 15 or a 20 degree. Then I really like to sleep in a sleeping bag liner inside of my sleeping bag. It's a lot easier. It's something that I can clean on the trip, which is really nice. It's difficult to clean a sleeping bag on the trip, but you can rinse out and dry out a sleeping bag liner in a duff day.
Yeah. Actually, you guys, I just checked my sleeping bag right now. It is 25 degrees there. So Ben's right. I totally thought it was 40, but it's definitely 25. So everyone, feel free to ask your leaders questions via emails. We're here and we want to help you with gear and anything. And I know I've been to northern Canada, but my co-has been to Alaska before. A lot of leaders have been to these areas before and know firsthand experience. So if you have literally any questions, small or big, about gear, anything that you're maybe not, just ask them. We would love to help you with all the really gritty gear details, because we also love gear too. So just keep in mind that we're just ask any questions.
Are we getting dropped off and picked up by bush planes?
Probably not.
The one way?
It depends on the route. And your leaders right now are working on planning those routes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there a lot of trees to bring a hammock?
There are not. It's pretty barren up there. The biggest bushes in a lot of places are willow scrub.
Okay.
What did you say the name of the park was again?
The Alaska National Wildlife Refuge, or Gates of the Arctic National Park.
Did you just say to have a sleeping bag liner? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, sleeping bag liners are great. I highly recommend them. They provide warmth, and they're really easy to clean on trail, and I think they're really comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. Also, in terms of sleeping bags, I know some of you have backpacked before, but some sleeping bags are huge, and just recognize that if you do bring a really big, the sleeping bag itself is huge, it's going to be harder to pack the pack. So just be conscious if you have I don't know, there's some, when I was a camper, I had this huge sleeping bag, and so just make sure it's a little compact so you can pack it into a pack itself without just sticking it on, so just be aware of that too, is what I'm saying.
All right. Are there any more questions for tonight?
I'm sorry. So I do have one. So how many days are they in camp before they leave for the trip?
3 full days, I believe. I don't have the schedule in front of me. It's either 3 or 4 full days.
Okay. And they fly out of Minneapolis, St. Paul to...
Yeah, to Fairbanks through Seattle. So the flight is a connecting flight through Seattle and then up to Fairbanks.
Okay.
And then the groups will spend a night there in Fairbanks before leaving the following morning.
Will we have a place to like keep our roadshow then?
Yeah. So a Manitowish alum lives in Fairbanks, and she's kind enough to not only let you leave roadshow stuff with her, but on the way back you'll be stopping by her house and camping in her yard, I believe. She's a wonderful person, and I've never been up there, but groups have said that it's one of the best parts of the trip. Talking to Anna Plager.
What was that sound?
Somebody just heard you.
Are we the only ones hearing that funny sound?
No. What is that sound?
What the heck is that?
It's probably Jane.
Jane's her mom.
Ben, can you hear that too?
Well, thank you all very much for joining this webinar tonight. My job is to support the trip groups and the trip leaders and you all any way that I can. So please don't hesitate to call or email me with any questions that you might have. My email address is outpost.director@manitowish.org. Yeah, let me know if I can help. Thanks. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.